Welcome everyone to Campaign's first breakfast briefing event of 2024 on Ramadan advertising and the year ahead. I'm Nadeem Qureshi, the publisher at Campaign Middle East. Wow, we have a super full house today, and as always, it's great to see a packed room at the start of the year full of old friends and partners. Thank you everyone for attending. Before we get on with today's event, I wanted to brief everyone on the latest developments at Campaign Middle East and our partners. We have Campaign's editorial and events calendar confirmed for the full year, where we'll have 12 monthly print issues, and that would include our annual directories, our country reports, and talent recognition editions. In our events calendar this year, we've got 4 breakfast briefings in Dubai, 2 Saudi briefings in Riyadh in May and October, along with 2 new networking events planned for this year. You can get our annual calendars by reaching out to anyone from Campaign's team. On your tables, we have the Campaign's latest Jan edition with the AdTech and Digital Agency Guide this month. And in Feb, we will publish the Media and Creative Agency Directory. So please send us your agency listings if you want to include them in these annual guides. Moving on, as most of you already know, Dubai Links is back for its 17th year. And we will be hosted on 5th and 6th of March at a new venue, the Emirates Golf Club. Super early bird passes, the program and speaker details are already live on DubaiLinks.com. You can find this information on the flyers on your tables. And we also have the Dubai Links team with us. Please show of hands. There they are. Should you want to get involved in a larger capacity with their various initiatives. And here's a short video about them. Brilliant. I look forward to seeing you all at Dubai Links. We would also like to thank our partners for making today's event possible. Our sponsors today are Acquisite, Microsoft Advertising, and InMobi. So a big thanks to them. Please make sure you contribute regularly to Campaign. Keep sending those opinion and thought leadership topics to Justin, along with your latest news, work, and appointments. And we also have an online job section on campaignme.com, where you can post and search for the latest job opportunities and career advices from industry experts. We should have these opportunities and a lot more details on our website, social media platforms, and weekly newsletters. So please don't forget to subscribe and follow us in order to get our latest news and updates on all our future events, podcasts, upcoming directories, and our print and digital editions. We also need your feedback on the content that you hear today. So please scan the QR codes on the agenda flyers on your tables to give us your valuable feedback on every session you hear today. Right, that's it from me. I will hand over the stage to Campaign's editor, Justin Harper, who will take today's event forward. Thank you, everyone, once again for attending, and I look forward to working with each one of you this year. Thanks a lot.
Esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, I stand before you today to delve into a subject of paramount importance and burgeoning potential within the marketing landscape, Ramadan advertising and the strategic forecast for marketers in the forthcoming year. Ramadan, the pinnacle of spiritual observance in the Islamic calendar, transcends its religious roots, manifesting as a period of profound cultural and socio-economic impact. This month-long observance, characterized by fasting, introspection, and communal solidarity, also catalyzes a notable shift in consumer behavior and marketing dynamics. Okay, I'll stop there. What I just said to you was generated by the latest version of AI, which perhaps you could tell. Sadly, it couldn't quite do the job for me that I wanted when I asked it to write a 5-minute speech on Ramadan advertising and the year ahead for marketers. The reason I did this was not necessarily because I'm lazy, although I am quite lazy. I'll explain. We just produced our bumper issue of Campaign for January, which sits on the table before you, and it has more than 30 articles on the year ahead. We had experts writing on social media, e-commerce, influencer marketing, communications, PR, and MENA marketing. And I don't think one of those articles failed to mention AI and its growing influence. But the majority of these articles and these authors also cautioned about the need for authenticity in general, but also specifically when it comes to AI. By authenticity, we use that word a lot, but I think it means, we all know, being real, being honest, and having that important human touch. My ChatGPT experiment only supports these views. Authenticity is crucial. And today, thankfully, we'll be putting the human touch back into marketing with a very strong lineup of speakers and panelists. Before we kick things off, we have a short video to play for you from Campaign's Agency of the Year Global Awards. Okay, in case you missed that, the deadline is the 15th of Feb, so you have about 2 weeks to get your entries in. Before we kick things off, we like to give away prizes, and today we're giving away an Xbox, which is courtesy of InMobi's. So there's a QR code on your table. I think you just scan it and then you get put automatically into the drawer. So let's kick things off with our keynote presentation of the day, which is on Ramadan 2024, Building Sustainable Momentum for E-Commerce Brands, and it's by Timothy Desormeaux, apologies for my French pronunciation, who is the co-founder and partner at Acquisite. Thank you. Okay, I'll just leave the stage to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am thrilled to be in front of you this morning, and I am the one assigned with the challenging but nonetheless rewarding task to try to tell you something that you haven't heard yet already about Ramadan. Pretty ambitious. But I have a plan. Well, before that, so I'm Tim. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Acquisite. At Acquisite, we help brands to grow by injecting data in their marketing strategies. Our team of 60 analysts, strategists, engineers based between Dubai and recently Riyadh are crafting and executing growth marketing strategies for more than 40 clients, ranging from beauty to tourism and passing by financial services and education. Some of our favorite clients are in the room today. Back to Ramadan. So when considering an angle to talk about Ramadan today in somehow a new way, your slides, right? Okay, yeah, perfect. Thanks. I was like, okay, what hasn't been said yet about Ramadan? And maybe it has been said before, but the angle that I have chosen is to try to slightly change the perspective that we perceive from the brands we are working with. They mostly see Ramadan, at least when it comes to the e-commerce part of it, as a all-time high sales period. And most of the conversation revolves on how to sell more. What I'd like to try to do today is to slightly change that perspective and demonstrate to you that Ramadan can be a good sales period, but also a foundational moment to build a sustainable momentum on e-commerce sales for your brands, for your websites. So not only looking at the short term of selling, but what can I do now that will bring me success, that will bring success to my brand for the next 6 to 12 months. And I will try to showcase that through 4 points. The first one is don't let them take the discount and run. Well, so is Ramadan a good sales period? Yes. Do brand needs to connect emotionally with their clients during Ramadan to sell and within a specific cultural context? Yes, of course. But this is not what I'm here to tell you today. When it comes to e-commerce, Ramadan is ultimately about value for the consumer. And the purest form of value for a consumer is very simple. It usually comes down to discount. And the thing is that brands are giving discounts during Ramadan. But what we believe is that they're not getting enough in return. What you're getting in returns for giving a lot of discounts are sales. Good. You could get much more. Recently, there's been a study that showed that most of the consumers are ready to give away or provide brands with extra information in exchange for a little bit more discount. And that data, that information is more valuable than ever because accurate data is going to get scarcer and scarcer. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So what we are about to try this year, in a few weeks, with some of our brands, is a new mechanism that enables user on the website to unlock an additional level of discount in exchange of declarative data that can be used to enrich the CRM data that we have and put at the service not only of the sales of Ramadan, but to the lower seasonality that's coming after, or for example, during summer. So the first point I want to make here, and this is a bit of the purpose of this, don't let them take the discount and run. You should ask for much more. And you offer consumer discount, they give you a little bit more in exchange, but this is gold for you. Do take it. The second point is selling during Ramadan is good, but selling and recruiting is better. Let me tell you the starting point of most of our conversation with our clients about Ramadan. They tell us, they usually come with, oh, this is the sales target that we want to achieve. Big, fat number. And we're like, sure, who do you want to sell to? And most of the time, the answer, not exactly in those words, is who cares as long as we reach the target and we maintain the ROAS, the return on ad spend. And we're like, fine, so you won't mind if we target your customer database and we send them the discount, and you're going to end up with reaching your sales target, loading your existing client that know your brand already with a lot of products for a discounted price. And this is usually when the conversation changes. What I want to say this morning about recruiting is that Ramadan is most of the time under leveraged as a discovery moment for brand. And this is a pity because 77%, and I didn't quote all the sources here, but I'm happy to provide the sources right after, but 77% of the consumer are more open to try new brands during Ramadan. There are a couple of reasons for that. One of them being, since you change your routine, you're actually in a better mood to discover brands. And the way we advise brands to approach that is to split their sales target in two. You should know what you want to achieve on your existing customer database, and this should be monitored based on ROAS, return on ad spend. But then you should be very intentional about the share of that target that you want to achieve from new customer. And this shouldn't be monitored with ROAS. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit technical at 9:20. But this should be monitored through CAC, cost per new acquired customer. But you should go beyond that, and we see very few brands that are doing it. You should go beyond that and inject this information in the algorithm of the platforms that you're using. Concretely, what you could do is say a purchase, the same purchase that has the same nominal value, but coming from a new client is worth twice as much for me than the purchase coming from an existing client. But knowing that is not enough. You need to algorithmically reflect it in your algorithm. And doing that, you will mechanically shift the focus from, you're still going to achieve high sales, but you're going to force the platforms, you're going to force the algorithm to work for you on a sustainable basis, because those new clients are, at least part of it, are likely to come back. On the contrary, if you spend your whole budget without being very intentional on who you're targeting, you're going to end up with loading your existing client with product, and the next 2-3 months are going to be much more difficult. So this was point 2. Selling is good, but you need to be very intentional about recruiting during Ramadan. This is a very good discovery moment. The point 3 is don't forget a massive component in your ROI equation. Most brands focus on ROAS. The most advanced ones inject a bit of CAC into their strategy. But most of them tend to overlook a very valuable asset. The engagement time during Ramadan the engagement time on the website or on the app goes up by 20%. The time spent on average online compared to non-Ramadan period increase by 15%. This technically results into much more traffic on your website, on your app, any of your properties, but also longer session. What are longer sessions saying? Those sessions provide you with much more insights about your prospect. If you collect this data, and if you collect it in the form of audiences, this is the first step. The second step is, and I'd be interested to be a quick show of hands, but who is quantifying in a numerical way the data collections? Who, for example, says, I'm fine paying an extra 1,000 to get this audience from 100 to 10,000? Who's doing that in the room? Okay. Oh, yeah. But of course. The day you start doing that and re-injecting this driver, this data-driven approach in your budget allocation process and in the way you optimize your campaign, once you inject that new parameter, this mechanically gears your campaigns not only for high sales now, which are sometimes made at the expenses of the long term, but mechanically gears your approach for much more sustainable sales momentum, which is what I'm trying to demonstrate here. So don't forget to value and inject the value of your data collection. I'm talking about undeclarative data, the data that is collected as people browse your website, your app, in your ROI equation. It shades a completely new light to it. The fourth and last point, which is a little bit less data heavy, which is a bit more about trade marketing, because Ramadan is also a perfect period to try new trade marketing approaches. Consumers are in a shopping mood during 40 days. 40 days. It's a long period. There are very few event or period in the world and different culture that have such a long structural change of behavioral pattern when it comes to consumer. 40 days, there is a lot of things you can do. And a lot of them are, during those 40 days, are showrooming. Some of them are buying. They're buying at specific moments. But somehow, because the engagement is increasing, you want to try, in parallel of your regular offering, you want to try to capture value, you want to capture the moment and put that intention of buying at the service of the slow months, let's say July and August in the region. How to do that? And this is something that is widely used, that is highly adopted in Southeast Asia and in China. During those high traffic moments, one way to capture the value now is to, from a trade marketing perspective, is to offer consumer with a coupon that has a nominal value of, let's say, 1,000, but for the price of 750. Immediate value, hard cash. The trick is that this coupon can only be redeemed at a certain period. For example, July and August. That way, you're capitalizing on the high traffic that you're driving in parallel of the offering that you have specifically for Ramadan, and you're capturing value now that you will be able to benefit from when you need it the most. So people like your house, they visited your website, invite them back, but only invite them back when you want them to come. So those were just 4 concrete examples on how you can use data and to some extent trade marketing to stop focusing only on the sales now, keep on focusing on that, but think about tomorrow. And the reason why I think you should think about tomorrow is because we enter slowly but surely into a digital world where third-party data, accurate third-party data, is going to become scarcer and more expensive. I don't have to tell you about the end of cookies and those kind of things. The brands that are going to thrive tomorrow, the ones that are going to succeed, are the ones who harvest first-party data and to a lesser extent, second-party data. And those moments, and Ramadan is the best, the longest one and the best one, those moments of high traffic are exactly when you should put your inflated budget, your bigger budget at the service of selling, but also at the service of building tomorrow. If I've managed to change at least a little bit your perspective on Ramadan, and I've succeeded on my mission. Have a wonderful morning. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Timothy Desormeaux. I prefer Tim, is actually better for me, but co-founder and managing partner of Acquisite. Sell, don't run, recruit, ROI are some of the takeaways, and I think he's inviting us all back to his house. I think I wasn't quite sure, but he'll probably give you the address afterwards, which is great news. So thank you for that. We're moving on to panel number 1, which is on the topic of making memorable moments, a little bit of alliteration, advertising during Ramadan and beyond. And this panel is brought to you by Microsoft Advertising and InMobi. Our panel discussion will delve into the unique challenges faced by brands during this holy month and explore innovative solutions. I'd like to welcome onto stage the moderator, Jacob Joseph, who is Meta Head for Microsoft Advertising Partnership in Mobi, Laura Gledhill, Head of Performance Keyade, Mai Sheblek, who is Head of Corporate Marketing, Events and Sponsorships for Emirates MBD, and Terry Moe, Head of Digital OMD, MENA.
And a reliable partner. And now we're connecting.
Hi, good morning, everybody. As Tim mentioned, we are approaching the holy month of Ramadan, and we are going to enter a period which will be marked by increased consumer engagement as well as unique buying behaviors. Today, we have curated this panel of experts who will help you marketeers unlock or decode the latest marketing trends as well as to adapt to the ever-changing consumer behavior, which should, I hope at least, get the most out of your marketing campaigns during this Ramadan period. We look to cover everything from generative AI as well as omni-channel strategies and everything in between, albeit in the time that the organizers have given us, so don't worry about that. And hopefully by the end of it, you will be having an enriching experience which should help boost your Ramadan campaigns. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce the panel and myself. My name is Jacob Joseph. I head the partnership between Microsoft and InMobi for the Middle East, Turkey, and Africa region. Some of you might be aware of the partnership between InMobi and Microsoft, but for those that aren't, I'll give you a quick background. So InMobi partnered with Microsoft in July 2018 to accelerate digital transformation within enterprises. We took the partnership up a notch in Jan 2020, where InMobi was given charge to grow the business for Microsoft Advertising within India. Microsoft Advertising, also known as Bing Search Ads. I think it's pretty safe to say that we did a good job because Microsoft expanded the partnership to include Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Africa as well. And in July last year, we expanded the remit to include China. So yeah, we are one of the few companies that can say that we can run ads in China. All right, enough said about me. Let's talk about the panelists here. Let's start with May. If you could please introduce yourself.
My name is Mai Sheblek. First of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for Motivate, for inviting me once more time to participate in campaign breakfast briefings. I work at Emirates MBD. I've been with Emirates MBD for the past 15 plus years. I had corporate marketing, events and sponsorship for both Emirates MBD as well as Emirates Islamic. I'm a mother for 3 and glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Laura, could you go next?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Gledhill. I head up the performance team at Keyade, which is part of Group M. I've been in the region for 6 years. I've been at Keyade for 2 and really excited to be here today, Jacob. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course, you're our biggest partner, Laura. We could not invite you. Terry, if you could go next, please.
Hi, I'm Terry Moe. I'm the head of digital for OMD for the MENA region. I've been with OMD for the last 12 years now, and 8 of those in the region. Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, cool. If you can get started with the questions. The first one is relatively simple. It's a fun icebreaker kind of question. All right. So in the world of iftar feasts, if your brand or agency were a signature dish, what would it be and why? Terry, let's get started with you.
I think marketing's going to kill me for this. I think it would be a glass of Vimto, right? And I'm going to say a glass of Vimto because no one goes to iftar to have a glass of Vimto, but you go there and it's refreshing and it's really good after a long day, and you don't realize it's what you wanted the entire time, but it is. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
It's not healthy, though.
Not at all. Not at all. That's why I'm sorry. Sorry to the marketing if they're in the room.
All right, May, what about you?
This is a very tough question because I have to only select one, but I'll probably opt for a dessert. I don't know, I'm sure many of you know the atayef. How many of you know atayef? Yeah, so atayef is commonly eaten in Ramadan, and it's for the people who don't know what atayef is. It's similar to a pancake. It's a dough, and it's either stuffed with cheese or pistachio, and you apply sugar syrup. Again, it's not healthy, but it's very commonly eaten in Ramadan, and we tend to only eat it during Ramadan.
Yeah, Laura, what about you?
I'm going to finish off with another unhealthy one, which is great. I think Kiad would definitely be a shawarma. We're very reliable. We're always there, and you can really count on us.
All right, awesome. Cool. If you can move on to the next question. Today, we live in the age of never normal. It's a term that I found on the Kiad blog, actually. And this term refers to a state of constant evolution, transformation, and agility. Given the context, what do you think consumer behavior will look like this Ramadan in the age of the never normal? And Laura, since you would have most context on this, if you could go first, please.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in this region we are well acclimatized to this idea of never normal. It's such a dynamic region that changes so quickly that we, as marketers, are used to adapting to changes and trends. I think one of the key things we'll see this Ramadan is a slightly less celebratory vibe, maybe more of a focus on togetherness and charity and giving. But Ramadan is a tradition that comes with its values associated with it, and for that reason I think there's definitely some things that will stay consistent and definitely some things that will adapt. One of the key things that we've seen in recent years that I think will probably carry on this year is a real change in how people prepare for their iftar. So there's a real increase in how many people are downloading and using food delivery apps, especially in Saudi Arabia. We've seen a large increase in the volume of women working in Saudi Arabia, meaning they're not filling that traditional role that they previously filled of preparing the iftar. And I think that's something that we'll see continue into this year. Another thing that I think Tim mentioned very well is a real increase in screen time and a real shift of when that screen time happens, a real shift of when your audience is available, and actually between the hours of 12 till 5, which normally wouldn't be a peak time for advertisers, is a really good time to be advertising.
All right, thank you. May, if you could share your inputs on this, please.
So the month of Ramadan is a holy month. It's a very spiritual month. Muslims tend to obviously abstain from food from dawn to dusk and fast and abstain from food. So definitely the consumer behavior changes significantly. Aside from increased food consumption, which should not be the case, obviously, tapping into the change of behavior that we are, that we will speak more about, it will definitely be increase more social media usage, so they tend to more browse on social. There will be increased as well shopping behavior, online shopping, because that brings a lot of convenience as well for fasters. You also see, you tend to see that there is a lot of increased focus on traditions and values. This year in specific, I would probably, think that this year would be a year that there would be a little bit of conservation in the celebrations, keeping in mind what is happening in the region. But overall, there's definitely increased time spent on social media, online shopping.
All right, thank you. Terry, if you could share your thoughts, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Laura and May have both touched on a really important topic here, which is, I think is going to be, Ramadan is a season of giving, of charity, and of celebrating that shared humanity we have. And this region is going through a conflict at the moment that I think we here in Dubai see and is a little bit more sheltered from. but Ramadan's going to be a time when that's going to come to the fore, and we saw that a lot with Ramadan in 2000 with COVID. I think it's going to be a time where people are looking to come together and really help out those less fortunate around us. And I think that's going to be one of the big overriding themes of Ramadan this year, is that they're giving to the less fortunate and those who are in those unfortunate circumstances.
Yep, I agree. I think it's pretty safe to say that while there would be an increased consumer engagement, every one of us need to be a little bit more sensitive to the things that are happening around us. So plan your strategies accordingly. Things will improve, obviously, and we can only hope for that, but always keep that in the back of your head. All right, thank you so much. Let's move to the next question. AI perhaps was one of the biggest trends of 2023, and it shows no signs of slowing down. How do you think brands can leverage AI more like a co-pilot in their marketing strategies this Ramadan? May, since you're from a banking sector which uses a lot of AI, if you could go first, please.
So leveraging AI is definitely power harnessing. Banks have a lot of data. We as banks, we have large amounts of data that we could harness on and leverage on. So I could probably highlight 4. Leveraging AI when it comes to, in the form of hyper-personalization. This is one. The data that we have from our customers that are captured through their card transaction behavior, through their behavior that they exhibit during the year when they consume loans, their account transactions are all basically analyzed through these AI machine learnings that will allow us to actually basically develop ads that are more personalized, more contextual, and more targeted. So hyper-personalization is one. Another thing is leveraging on AI in the form of VR and AR, and we've done this quite a lot in the past year or two. So this will allow us to actually allow the consumer to to get into an immersive experience, interact with our products, and resulting in an engaging behavior. A third thing is as well is leveraging on AI through chatbots. Many of you have interacted with our famous chatbot Eva. Who does not know Eva here? May she rest in peace. She has passed away. She was replaced with another chatbot. It doesn't have a name, so that's a good thing about it. So that chatbot is actually learning and analyzing a lot of the the behavior of our consumers, allowing it to actually address a lot of complicated issues, hand over the customer when needed to the agent, to a live agent, and deliver a much more premium customer experience to the consumer. Last but not least as well is predictive AI. Again, leveraging on our data that the banks have, allow all of this data to get analyzed and allow us to predict trends. Because by predicting trends, this will allow us to actually, plan better, market and forecast better.
All right. Terry, if you could add your thoughts, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI is something that has been in play in this industry, and particularly around performance marketing, for a really long time. But I think what has happened in the last year, and with the launch of generative AI platforms, is that we are seeing an increasing amount of trust in what used to be a black box algorithm. It's still a black box algorithm. You hand your data over, and Google optimizes or Microsoft optimizes and spits out a result, and fantastic. But with generative AI, and particularly things like Copilot, people are seeing the power that is actually there in AI, and people are starting to believe in it a lot more, and people are starting to trust in it a lot more. And with that belief and trust will come increased adoption, and even, take away generative, which is nice and shiny and fancy and all that. But the algorithms we have powering simple things like optimization of campaigns, audience targeting, people are much more willing to adopt that now than they were in the past, and that's going to change the way that campaigns are being planned, knowing that that's a roadblock that people aren't going to perceive as a roadblock anymore.
Got it. Laura?
Yeah, I think, Terry, your point is fantastic. I think when people think AI, it's still something that we think of as very futuristic, and I think we probably still have a long way to go in the things that we're going to see. But I think, exactly as you said, the impact that AI is having on day-to-day campaigns that we build is really important, and the quicker that we embrace it, the better the results that we're going to get. From a very heavy search background, I think another thing that is really interesting is if you go back 10 years, people weren't overly familiar with the internet and with search engines, and they would search, hello, where can I buy an iPhone online? As people learn, they shortened that and they searched iPhone online, for example. But with conversations that are coming up and the way that people are interacting with these AI engines like Copilot, we really do see an increase in these long tail searches again. And I think ensuring that that is included in your strategy, so you're picking up those searches and understanding the consumer behavior that search gives us so much information about is also really important.
Yeah, I mean, data is the backbone of AI. I completely agree. And while it's still evolving, we should definitely include it, or at least consider it as a significant part of our marketing strategies. Actually, in 2023, Microsoft embarked on this incredible journey of changing the way we actually search with the launch of the generative AI, or the new Bing. We also call it as the co-pilot for our web. And with the help of AI, we've been able to generate really catchy and more immersive content, which dynamically changes to match the advertiser's end goal with the consumer's intent. To give you a quick example, if I just, and this is what I envision search or the new Bing AI to be like. I just put buy shoes online onto the chat box, and since the co-pilot knows probably Nike is my favorite brand, I like the color red, I wear a shoe size which is 10, it'll give me more customized, personalized results so that I don't have to actually go and put on those filters. All right, let's move on to the next question. In the past few years, there was immense pressure on the bottom of funnel metrics. But today, brands are a bit more focused on moving the needle in the brand awareness stage as well. How are you navigating this journey? Terry, if you could like to go first, please.
Yeah. This is absolutely something that we've been really, really passionate about, because I think it's something that we, as an industry, have largely made a misstep in focusing on bottom of the funnel so much, and I'm really glad to see that swing back in the other direction, because it's something that we've been really passionately talking about and have written about in dozens of different publications and speaking events. Look, the move from bottom of the funnel to more focus on top of the funnel is really important for brands, because that is what is ultimately going to bring scale, and is ultimately going to bring familiarity and that connection with your consumer that bottom of the funnel is just not as good at doing. The risk that brands take is if you take your bottom of the funnel measurement and try to apply that to your upper funnel activity, you will fail. It will look like it's not doing the job. There are other ways of measuring upper funnel, talking about things like brand lift surveys, media mix modeling, attention is a really important one that will tell you just how effective you are being in that upper funnel without trying to have your upper funnel activity race your bottom of the funnel to efficient and hyper efficient CPA or CPI or whatever your target may be. So really glad to see the shift, as long as that measurement shift also follows.
Got it. Me, if you could add your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing on what my colleague Tari had said. I think it's very important to focus on the upper funnel equally, equally as well onto the bottom funnel. I think using the upper funnel, brand lift studies have been like, very important for us to actually take that data and target target consumers right to the bottom of the funnel. So I think think we need to look at both and not one separate than the other.
Yeah, and I think one of the big changes that we've seen, May, I completely agree with you, is a more investment in digital media and less in traditional media. And that really allows you to tie together the whole customer journey, going from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, and sort of makes this funnel concept redundant, not redundant, I'm not sure. And I think that's what's really important. As we spoke about the measurement, it's really understanding what is the value of a completely new customer. How do you actually understand that value so that you're bidding accordingly, and recognizing that just because someone isn't immediately purchasing doesn't mean that they aren't valuable to your business, doesn't mean that they aren't a good source of first-party data, doesn't mean that they won't convert. Keyad plays very much at the bottom of the funnel, and I think it is a big shift, and it's an education piece for performance marketers and brands as well, to really get that measurement right and understand what the value is at every stage. And I think, exactly as you said, brand lift surveys, media mix modeling, there's so many things nowadays that we can be doing to understand it further.
Yeah, if I could summarize, obviously the trends are changing, and while we need to adapt to the changing trends, I think the measurement methods also need to change. And while people look at the short-term goal of making money with return on investments, branding definitely will help in the long term. If I could just add a nugget on how search could also be used. So traditionally search has been used as a performance platform, right? But you can actually use it for branding quite well, and it helps in the entire funnel piece. I'll give you a quick example of what we did. In the recently concluded Football World Cup in Qatar, there was a consumer durable brand which wanted to promote their televisions. So we knew that there'll be a lot of queries around football. So our account management team came up with really creative ad copies, and we got the client to bid on terms in and around football. There wasn't a lot of competition. The client got a lot of impressions, and we did the measurement as well, which saw a big uplift in the brand. So yeah, search can actually add value to the branding perspective as well.
Jacob, just to add on to what you said and giving examples from what the bank has been doing. So we've been looking at collecting data more on a brand awareness level. And how have we been doing that? We have a program called Financial Wellbeing. It's more a financial literacy program. It's a platform that basically Emirates NBD is trying to position themselves as the advisories, rather than just a utility or a bank that sells products that are available across many banks. The content that is available on this platform is basically very educative. It's targeting different audiences, from millennials to Gen Zs to early, families with that are in the early sectors. This content is very, it starts from basic questions on what's the difference between a credit card or a debit card. How much do I save? What is a flat interest rate versus a reducing interest rate that many people might not know. So that content, when it is being consumed, we collect the data and we understand that, okay, he was interested in that article, for us to actually serve him an ad later on, for him to be probably converted into a customer. Another example also could be, we're sponsors for Dubai Desert Classic, Dubai Golf Desert Classic. And this happens once a year. Again, on the website, across all the articles that we post, consumers who consume the content and interact with this golf, we could also as well collect them and serve them, especially if they are high spenders on esports stores or stores that are related to, that sell sport-related articles. We would serve them as well ads. So that is basically how do we look at the upper funnel, and help it complement the lower funnel.
Yeah, I've actually used your app for somebody who's moved to Dubai not more than 2 years back. It was a little difficult for me to understand how banking works or what are the ways to make my money work, so I actually used it. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. Today we are speaking to an audience of one. So what are the most effective personalization techniques for engaging with diverse audiences, especially during Ramadan? And May, if you could go first.
I don't think there is one effective technique. I think techniques, different techniques can complement each other. But I think as a brand, we need to be mindful of what this month brings and what the values and the traditions of this month are. And let me give you an example. So Emirates MBD every year needs to run a corporate campaign on social or across their own assets. And we try to move away from commercializing this month. So last year, the whole of the UAE was celebrating Ramadan without one person. Any guesses who that person is? So, sorry? Bravo. So the whole of UAE was, I chapeau for you. The whole of the UAE was actually celebrating Ramadan and practicing Ramadan without the Sultan of Space, Sultan al-Niyadi. So Sultan al-Niyadi was on a trip that started for a 6-month period. And we as Emirates MBD decided that why don't we actually make people reflect on how is Ramadan and how is Sultan actually fasting in the space when he's orbiting the face. Does anyone know how many sunsets and sunrises are witnessed in the orbit, in the space? There are 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets that Sultan al-Niyadi was witnessing every day. So obviously the dynamics of Ramadan in the space were completely different. He was away from his family. And that's where Emirates MD decided to say, okay, this campaign is going to be customized and personalized for Sultan al-Niyadi. And there was a campaign that we released with a film that was released on our social channels. I don't know how many of you have seen it. A girl basically, it was about iftar timing. Iftar timing was approaching, and she was actually preparing the dining table along with her family, the normal traditions that we actually do during Ramadan. And this Emirati girl was saying, "Mom, I need to reserve that seat for Sultan." And she was always speaking to Sultan through the walkie-talkie. "Sultan, do you hear me? I wonder what are you doing?" It became very emotional and it allowed even the consumers to actually live and understand what Sultan al-Niyadi was doing. And we also carried that campaign to post-Eid. So, during Eid, the first thing Muslims are do, early in the morning, they have to go do their prayers, and then we tend to visit our families. So again, that girl came back and she was speaking to Sultan al-Niyadi and telling him, "Don't worry, I've reserved the plate of sweets for you that we usually eat." And she was, the conversation continued to happen. So that was something that was much more customized for the year itself. And it made it little bit, we connected with the community at a different emotive level.
Thank you. Laura, if you could go next, please.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way to approach, instead of personalization, sort of reaching out to the trends that are going on. And I think that's sort of the option brands have, is do you jump on a key trend and key moment that's going on, or do you speak to individual customers? And with a lot of the changes that are happening in privacy, and I know it's not a topic that people haven't heard before, it's becoming definitely more and more difficult to speak to customers in a personalized way. And brands have to get very creative in what they're doing in order to resonate. I think we've seen a huge rise in influencers and user-generated content, and what people are really looking for is authenticity and is a genuine understanding of the brand and what that brand is trying to do. And I think when it comes to hyper-personalization, of course, Timothy spoke about first-party data. I think it is really important because when we talk about personalization, everyone first thinks, what is the ad that I'm going to put out? How is it going to resonate? How is it going to engage my audience? But it goes very far beyond that into how am I actually going to tailor my bid or my budget for that person? How am I going to ensure that when they land on my website, they see the product that they want to buy, and if it's not available, they see the next best product? And I think data really is the core of how we get personalization right. And with a lot of the changes that are going on in that space, it's got to be a key focus for brands, not just during Ramadan, but this year, of really making sure that they have a plan and an infrastructure and a way that they're going to get that data and then use it, and use it in a way that will work with testing and with measurement to check it's working.
Thank you. Terry, do you want to go next?
Yeah. From a use of data perspective, I think there's not a lot to add from what Laura said. I think she raises some really, really good points. What I will say is that there are some brands that might struggle a little bit more with the collection of first-party data, and you might be tuning out of this conversation and this response a little bit right now, because if you're a biscuit brand, it's a very, very different world than if you're a bank or a streaming service or something that collects user data quite naturally. And that's where we need to look. There are technologies in market, things like data clean rooms that you can look into that can take a very small pool of data, of your own data, and turn that into something that's much broader and much more powerful, and sort of give you that scale that you need, even though you might struggle naturally to be that data collector. And that's really important to look into if you're one of those brands.
Got it. So if I could just summarize, obviously personalization is very important, and there's just no one fixed way to do it, but utilize data as much as you can, partner up probably with publishers like us who have a lot of first-party data that you could leverage. All right, my final question, what are your top 3 tips for marketers this Ramadan? Laura, if you could go first.
My top 3 tips would probably be, my first one, I can't believe it's not been said already, but if you haven't started, start now. Ramadan is falling much earlier this year, and I think for anyone who's working in this space, there's a lot to do before it starts. So definitely after this, get back to the office and get started. I think my second thing would definitely be use the data that you have. I think when Ramadan comes around, there's a lot of conversation about trends and predictions, but all advertisers sit on a wealth of data about what happened last year, what happened the year before, what works, what their customer likes, doesn't like, what resonates with them. So don't forget to use the data that you already have and really do that analysis. And I think AI is a great starting point to help you with that. Do that analysis to really understand what should be or what must be included in your strategy. And my third one would be, I think that one of the really core values of Ramadan is well-being. And for many of the advertisers and marketers in this room, you'll know that this is a time that's actually, it's busy and it's stressful, and just keep focused on what the core values of Ramadan are. It's a busy time if you work in marketing, but I think it's really important that you take time. If you practice Ramadan, take time to take care of yourself. If you don't, take time to sit with your friends and your colleagues and really understand more about this time, because it is very special, and one of the real values is togetherness and well-being. And I think it's really important that we don't forget that in this advertising space.
Cool. Thank you. Terry, I've got an indication from the organizers that we're running out of time. So quickly, three tips.
Yeah, sure. I'll make it quick. I know Justin's a fan of alliteration though, so I'm going to say it. It's war, well-being, but a slightly different take on well-being to what Laura said, and weather. War we've touched on. It is a difficult period for the region, and that's going to affect consumer mindsets over Ramadan. Well-being from the perspective of the consumer, we are in a period of rising cost of living, difficulties with inflation, depending on where you're looking at in the region, also currency issues. It's not a healthy mindset for our consumers to be in, so being mindful of that this Ramadan. But weather is a great thing. We're looking at a Ramadan that's going to be 2 degrees cooler than last Ramadan. People are going to be able to be outside, going to be able to enjoy Ramadan a little bit more in different ways to they have in previous years.
Yep. Your 3 tips.
Yeah, I think I'll just summarize them very quickly. I think we, as a bank, we have to sell. You know, auto loans tend to be very hot product offering, but as well, the corporate marketing team tries to balance that by making the month more focused on values, more focused on strategies, and make it less commoditized or commercialized. And I've said a couple of examples in that, especially this year. This year is a very challenging year for us. The bank has been taking it very seriously, avoiding working with a lot of influencers because our content we don't want our content to be among disturbing scenes. So that also puts another challenge onto us. 2, I think we need to be as well respectful to the consumer. Respectful in what sense? Not to over bombard him with messages. Let him live the values of this month. And we sometimes tend to lose and forget that. And finally, I think the timing of the content is very important. Timing is very important. Eid follows immediately after Ramadan. So we as a bank, we come up with a lot of offers and great promotions. Time it correctly to the consumer when the purchases are happening, and avoid the last 10 days of Ramadan because they're also very spiritual.
Yep, got it. Thank you so much. Do we have time for questions or do we wrap it up? Okay, sorry. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the panelist. But thank you so much. I wanted to thank the lovely panelists for such an incredible session. I hope all of you are feeling inspired and excited about the upcoming Ramadan season. But before we leave, I just wanted to say that we are hosting an exciting raffle. So please do participate and stand a chance to win an Xbox. Simply scan the QR code and we'll do the rest. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, many thanks to Microsoft Advertising and Moby and our great panelists for that, kicking us off with that first panel. Some great insights there on timing, personalization, the need for charity. And for me, my key takeaway, if you work with an astronaut, it pretty much guarantees a campaign that's out of this world, which is a very poor bad dad joke. And I'll move swiftly on to our second panel, which is on marketing during Ramadan, looking at how Ramadan advertising differs from other marketing campaigns. And we'd like to welcome on stage our very own Sonia Majumdar, who's a junior reporter at Campaign Middle East, to moderate. She will be joined by Ulfa Masoudi, Chief Digital and Marketing Officer, L'Oreal Middle East, Ramzi Atat, Head of Marketing and PR, Asia Pac, Middle East and Africa for Lotus Cars, Arif Yahya, Head of Business Partnerships for Retail and E-Commerce Global Business Solutions, MENA for TikTok, and Mitin Chakraborty, who is Head of Marketing at Baby Shop, which is part of the Landmark Group. Sonia, over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to panel 2. I will allow the panelists to introduce themselves.
So, hello everyone, I'm Ulfa Masoudi, Chief Digital and Marketing Officer. I'm going to start to say that I could not imagine to be there 10 years ago, because I was in the Middle East 10 years ago. I came back, actually, 3 months ago. So I'm not new, but I'm new. So looking forward for the day.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Arif. I lead the retail and e-commerce team at TikTok for the MENA region.
Hello everybody, my name is Mitin. Good morning, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. I'm part of the Landmark Group. I head up marketing for Baby Shop, both at a brand at a marketing level, and I'm in this region for the last 10 years. So looking forward.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ramzi Adat. I look after the marketing and PR for Lotus Cars in APAC, Middle East, and Africa. Good to be here.
Right, to kick things off, we'll start off with the first question. What topics does the community connect with during Ramadan? And tell us more about content categories. We'll start with Alfa. What are your thoughts?
Actually, during Ramadan, if you look into the data, because data is key, you're going to see that everything increase on food, on fashion, on beauty. I'm going to talk about beauty today because I'm L'Oréal. For us, it's a lot of everything around well-being. You're going to see an increase, for example, in terms of skincare, for example, but it's not the key one, actually. Hair mask is one of our key trends and a key top increase in interest during Ramadan. You have a lot of interest around like fragrances, makeup, but it's mostly just before Eid because people are looking of gifting, also looking better actually for this moment. And you have a lot of increase on skincare, but not around the dehydration. It's more about preparing your skin and making sure that you glow actually during this time. So you know that women are usually cooking, they're staying home, so they want to look good. So they prepare the skin to glow actually, and it's not only about being dehydrating, and it's important to know that. So that's why the increase on mask is quite important during this time.
Thank you so much. That's an interesting point of view. And Arif, what's your view for your business?
So I definitely agree, but I would like to double click on why everything increases. So yes, we see an increase across many content categories in Ramadan, but it all goes back to the user's behavior during Ramadan. So as TikTok, when we look at our own first-party data, the things that we observe during the holy month are that users are spending more time on our platform, which is an average of 1 hour and 31 minutes per day. So that's the length of a movie, basically. They are opening the app more times, so 24% increase in terms of in-app opens in general. And then when we ask ourselves why, and when we talk as well to users and conduct our research, the reason is that the role that entertainment in general plays, and not only TikTok, elevates during Ramadan. Because suddenly we become a replacement for their morning coffee, right? To get that serotonin boost in the morning. We become a pastime during the day in those longer working hours, even though they're shorter, but they feel longer during Ramadan. We're that little boost of support in that final stretch before iftar. So that's happening over the course of the day, and that makes us reevaluate basically what do we mean by the concept of prime time during Ramadan, because obviously all of us, you know, it's a campaign breakfast, we all work in media in one shape or another. Ramadan in our industry, in media, has always been about prime time. And back in the days, like when we used to think of Ramadan, that definition of prime time was limited to that hour right after iftar, like first 2 hours right after iftar, the first series and the second series. They would have the highest ratings, the most expensive GRPs. That was prime time. Now, prime time is actually happening during the course of the day because people are resorting to entertainment platforms, again, be it TikTok or in general, throughout the course of the day. And it makes sense because it's part of, like when you think of yourself, how many times do you resort to your phone during Ramadan? That is actually increasing. So it's a story told by data, but it comes from that human insight. And that's why, again, to the first point about the content categories, we see that increase. Yes, we see it across F&B and beauty and fashion, across multiple categories.
Thank you. And what's your take on it, Mitten?
Look, for us in our business and our industry of retail, and in my role, we look at it at 2 levels. One, of course, this is the time of the year we consider it to be probably the Super Bowl of the region. So there's an opportunity on the brand, right, to sort of really tell a story and with all the user behavior that you learn where people spend so much more time on content, right? Even if you look at YouTube or Google, sort of some of the services, so the inventories, you see an over-index of people spending more and more time with content, right? So there's a clear opportunity with a brand to really tell a beautiful story, long format film, supported with different sort of marketing verticals, marketing content. So that for us becomes critical, and we've always, as a business, as an industry, we've tried to create some very interesting long format sort of brand content. I think the second one is on the marketing side, and I think hearing from some of the things that the speakers have said, see for us, again, going back to the consumer behavior, within our baby and kid industries, we see a huge over-index of people searching for baby fashion, kids fashion before Ramadan begins. So for us, it's also, Ramadan is usually, we say, it's a 60-day event for us, right? Because there's so much of content required to sort of serve to that behavior. I think during Ramadan, there's a clear, evident sort of gifting proposition that we like to build on, because there is still that very old cultural nuanced fact of people visiting people's families, visiting families, and parents wanting their kids to look absolutely stunning, right, during those events. And towards the end of Ramadan, from a marketing standpoint, we see a lot of over-index of gifting for toys. Also for all the little ideas that kids would collect throughout the month, they would like to then go and splurge and invest, especially in things that they like. So I think these are the three things from a marketing standpoint, and from a brand standpoint, I think we all have our little moments and stories to say.
Thank you. And on to Ramsey, what do you think about it?
Categories-wise, I think anything and everything. During Ramadan, consumers spend time on platforms or connected to their phones or laptops because they want to use content so that they can pass time. And most of it might be passive, so based on the algorithm where that takes them from one video to the other, we always find ourselves starting to watch something, end up watching something else. So that's what I mean by passive watching. But then specifically talking about automotive, adding to the points that the panel has said, long content is more consumed. So previously, maybe 3 years ago, Ramadan in the automotive industry was synonymous with offers and the right time to buy a car. And then COVID came, and then we had stock issues and supply chain issues. So we stopped seeing Ramadan offers during Ramadan. But I can tell you this year, it will definitely be back because stocks are up again, and the automotive retailers are pushing again to sell cars. So with that in mind, the intent to buy a car to happen in Ramadan is going to be back on the table. And then mixing that with consumer behavior of people in Ramadan, they're going to be up to watching a longer version video, a detailed deep dive into a car, as long as that video or content piece is engaging. So the traditional aspect of just someone talking about the car and mentioning specs and so on, that's no longer the case. So many people have come into the industry and started creating entertainment and using a different angle to talk about the options of vehicles consumers have to buy. So long story short, I would say mostly passive, but if someone is intending to buy a car and thinks and realizes that Ramadan is a good time to watch it, they will take the time to watch the longer version, the detailed comparison, the deep dive, as opposed to other times in the year where they just want to compare cars very quickly and maybe not have time to go to the showroom. In Ramadan, it's time to go to the showroom. It's actually a very good pastime. And it's a very good time also to watch the fully detailed reviews of the car. So we focus on that.
Thank you so much. On to the next question. Are there any specific campaigns over the years that you'd describe as brilliant or amazing? Maybe we could start with Arif.
Sure. I think there are a lot of brilliant campaigns. I can give the example of two. They're in two different industries, but somehow they're related because of our teeth. So the first one is from QSRs. It's from Shaya Group. They did one of the first TikTok Ramadan campaigns a couple of years back for Starbucks. And the insight, the insight was about that first moment that you sip your coffee like right after iftar. So like the success of the campaign was making sure that there's a human insight behind it. And they called the campaign a love at first sip instead of love at first sight. And they basically, they equated the love that you have for that first sip of coffee with the love that you see in Ramadan movies. That is, an older like Ramadan series that are exaggerated. So they did a TikTok campaign. It started with creators, but then it expanded into massive amounts of UGC. We're talking thousands of user-generated content that real people took a part in, and they jumped on board by leveraging a sound that they created that sounded like an Egyptian movie with typical Egyptian movie music in the background, with someone talking to someone they love, saying like, I love you, I can't live without you. But at the end of that 15-second TikTok, they're actually talking to their cup of coffee from Starbucks. So that was one of the most successful campaigns during Ramadan. And like I said, like two campaigns that are somehow connected, even though in different industries. On the other end, in FMCG or consumer packaged goods, Colgate did also a brilliant campaign, which somehow had to do with coffee, because there was also the insight of coffee playing a big role in Ramadan. But the insight here was about how people are worried about the whiteness of their teeth after drinking coffee, after iftar, because it's a very social moment, right? Like iftar, like most of the time you're having with family or with friends or with other people. So they had a number of creators. They used the TikTok creator marketplace for this, but they had a number of creators make scenes where, let's say, Ulfa is meeting Ulfa. Like Ulfa is playing two roles. And Ulfa is inviting, Ulfa is inviting the other Ulfa for coffee, but the other Ulfa gets offended, like, why are you inviting me for coffee for? Like, are you jealous of my teeth? And then the first Ulfa offers her Colgate. So it was a very funny campaign. They called it Ramadan Diaries, and they leveraged a number of creators for that one. So different industries, both somehow around coffee, but the reason that they were successful is they started with a human insight. Like they didn't force fit a campaign that was planned outside of Ramadan for the season, but they thought, how do our consumers or how do our shoppers behave during the holy month, and how can we build a campaign that can resonate with them?
It's a really interesting point. It's really about connecting with consumers emotionally as well. Over to you, Mitten. What's your take?
Look, I love advertising that brings in children. And I think a couple of them that I always strongly resonated with. One was this entire series of 3 years of Ramadan campaigns by, this was Surf Excel in Pakistan, but they're widely known as OMO in this part of the world. Now they have a very standard, they have a platform called Dirt is Good, right? And if you look at the Urdu word that they've used, Urdu or Hindi word called neki, which is goodness. And they have a series of 3 campaigns every year that focused on how dirt can help build relationships, dirt can help save something, dirt can do this, dirt can do that. And the first one that was probably a rage in our region, in this part of the world, was how children, there is this entire sort of drama created around, you have a street food vendor, he's trying to sort of go through a little alley, he's not able to, and you have children coming, trying to sell his little products, carrying all the food on their outfits, like really holding them and going and selling, taking the money and giving it back to him. And it ends by saying that, if you can help somebody during this time of the year, and by doing that, something gets dirty, then dirt is good. And the beauty is that they sustain that sort of message for the next 2 years. And that was very sweet. If you haven't, please do look through that. The other one in a similar domain is one by Tata Motors. Tata Motors, this was 2019, again focusing on children. And how during this holy month, children get their little bit of Eidia. And how they beautifully show that here's a little community or a class of kids who are coming together, putting in their monies and trying to send the school driver to his native little sort of country. It's a beautifully crafted story. Again, love it when I see it through the lens of children. So yeah, these are the 2 sort of stand out for me.
And what's your take, Ramzi?
consumers, I think the winning type of content is always the entertaining one, because consumers and humans instinctively we resist advertising. So, and that's consciously and subconsciously. So if you hit someone with a content piece and it straight up tells this consumer that you're trying to sell them a product, they're going to resist, skip, move to the next one. So the winning formula has been entertainment in content, especially in Ramadan, where they're seeking that entertainment. And obviously you have your product placed somehow integrated within that entertainment piece. And I think the best market to generate this type of content has been Egypt. And that's obvious because they're leaders in entertainment and drama and script writing for the past maybe 100 years or whatever. So most of the great content for Ramadan that I've seen has come out of Egypt. To cite one example, I mean, something that I worked on back in the agency days was PepsiCo. So they used to go very big in Ramadan and create very long content pieces. Hero films, it's an ad, but it also has a nice twist of humor and family values and so on. So one of them I recall is where the family was supposed to sit at iftar, and one of the kids was tasked to get the big Pepsi bottle. But then that goes into a series of challenges where he loses the money, he has an accident, and then things happen, and you can imagine it in the Egyptian humor way, and so much drama happening during the day. And then he's late to the iftar table, and everybody's worried and looking anxious and over-dramatizing all of that moment. And then eventually he shows up with the bottle of Pepsi and saves the day. I think it's fun, it's just entertaining, and the message is right there that Pepsi, Ramadan yajma'ana, and so on, and you can end it with that tagline. I think that was one of the winning, simple, straight to the point campaigns that I worked on it as well.
That's a good point. Humor definitely works on the audience.
It's all me.
On to Alpha, what are your thoughts?
Actually, for me, like, I think you give like super good example of why content is important during Ramadan, and when it touches you, emotion, memories, togetherness, there is something happening. So Ramadan is not a period of sales only. I think, Tim, you said it quite clearly today. It's really how you reconnect with brands, how you really send a message of it can be values, it can be around sustainability. I have two examples that I want to share today that I was very touched about. One campaign was about El Marai. It was about food sustainability. It was a very interesting advertising during Ramadan, talking about how we are wasting food in general, because we eat a lot, there is a lot of preparation, there is a lot of food on the table, but sometimes you have to throw the food. So it was a campaign where you see individuals eating, and each time they eat something or they order something, they receive only half of the food. So half of a banana, half of a pizza. And it was like that during all the advertising. And it was really a strong message of we need also to take care and we need to be sustainable during Ramadan. The second one is Tata Motor. It's the one I think that was done last year. To be honest, each time I saw this advertising, I'm crying. Because it's really about how you connect with your family, how you spend time with family during Ramadan. Actually, you see someone, like a group of people saying, oh, for Eid, I'm going to be with my family, with my friends, with my cousin, etc. And they ask one of the uncle of the restaurant, and what are you going to do? And the guy was like, he's not really answering. And one of the friends said, but he don't have any family. And then you see, like, they make a surprise. They invite the guy to the family, and it was super emotional. You know, it touched me because it was super well done. So I'm not going to cry, but emotion, as you can see, is super important when you create content and when you create memories that are very close to your value.
Thank you so much, Alpha. That was beautiful. And on to the next question. Can you share top tips for brands for Ramadan advertising? If you can sum it up maybe in one sentence or two. Maybe we can start with Ramzi.
Sure, top tips. So, entertaining, again, what's in it for the consumer? So, when writing the brief for the creative or checking it, we shouldn't think how should we show the product as much as possible, make the logo bigger, traditional kind of approach. It should be, why would the consumer watch it? He would like to be entertained and maybe inspired. So think about the consumer first and why would they watch this piece of video, and put that into the script. And then comes the second part. Obviously, it's a campaign, it's paid, it's marketing. So how do we integrate the brand very subtly, very naturally, organically, without being forced? Again, building on the point that I mentioned earlier, that humans resist ads because they don't like to feel that they are being sold the product. So make it entertainment and then subtly introduce the product in a seamless way. And I guess the third point is, what time do you post it? So that significantly changes during Ramadan because consumer behavior changes. And we can dive deeply into that, I guess, later on. But we all know how the behavior changes from suddenly peak posting hours for engagement might be a Monday 9 a.m. on a normal month, but in Ramadan it might even be 6 p.m. right before iftar, where people are hungry the most and they can't wait for the time to pass, and they would engage any content. So those would be my 3 tips.
Thank you. And what do you think, Arif?
My 3 tips, I'll give them headlines, but I'll explain. The first one would be 50-day consistency, then all-day visibility, and then everyday impact. On 50-day consistency, it's like what Mitten said. Mitten actually said it's 60 days, which I agree with him on. But the reason we say in general it's 50 days, yes, the holy month is 30 days, but from a business standpoint, it's longer because communication needs to start 2 weeks prior, and then you have the week of Eid afterwards. So 2 weeks before and a week after, then you have around 50 days in total. And it's important to be consistent throughout the 50 days in most businesses. Like FMCG, your shoppers will still shop every day for your products. Retail, the same thing. So that consistency throughout the 50 days is very important. In terms of all-day visibility, it's because the reason we call it out is traditionally, when I started my career, when we used to plan Ramadan, it was about, again, what Mitten said about the Super Bowl. I want to be in that specific hour of prime time right after iftar, but that tends to consume most of my budget. But your users are active throughout the day on platforms like TikTok because they have more time to spend, they seek entertainment more throughout the day. So you have to plan your visibility from a media standpoint throughout the day. We can obviously get into details of how that can be done. But remember that it's not enough to reach your user just between iftar and suhoor. And then the third one, in terms of everyday impact, the reality here is, back earlier, the first panel there was a lot of discussion around full funnel, importance of that. The reality is we're all business people, and it will cost you more to produce more for Ramadan, right? Like, you're not using just your regular TVC. So you have to make that up by driving the returns on that investment. So it's important to drive everyday impact versus only run your hero film at the beginning and at the end of Ramadan. So that further emphasizes the need to drive lower funnel solutions, like in our case, like video shopping ads throughout the month, and ensure you are getting the returns on your ad spend. In addition, knowing that, yes, this is a month where you're going to build brand resonance and emotional affinity, and all of that is important. But then when you're reviewing your P&L, you want to make sure you're balancing it basically with more sales and more conversions. So that's why we talk about everyday impact. So 50-day consistency, all-day visibility, everyday impact.
Thank you. And Ofa, what's your view for your business?
For me, to be honest, I'm not going to repeat what you said, but it's true that choosing the right moment, the right content is super important, especially on beauty, where 2 weeks before Ramadan you need and you have to be ready and start your campaign. There is also a huge moment of discovery. So, and this is the time when you can recruit new consumer because it's a discovery moment, and if you look into the data, you have like 80% of consumers today who are buying new product or new brand during Ramadan. It's also a moment where you can build brands and build brand love, and the content that you're gonna share during this time that will connect with your consumer will be key. It's also about storytelling, and it's also a period where brands usually came with a great idea, and great idea that connect with consumer. And that's why actually when you look at consumer, they are like changing also their behavior in terms of social media consumption. So yes, they are going on TikTok, Snapchat, etc., Google, but they are looking into more like tutorials, routines, Ramadan outfit, for example, and less around Western influencer or like music, for example. So it's good also to adapt your content to what the consumer needs.
Definitely. It's all about finding creative ways to connect with consumers.
And perhaps if I can add, because we are talking a lot about online and digital, I think something to keep in mind is that in KSA, mostly 80% of consumers are shopping in offline for Eid. So they are really going to mall, even if we have done in L'Oréal amazing campaign using Snapchat, virtual mall, for example, that was really powerful. Offline is still today a key driver during Eid, especially for KSA. So they are going to shop offline, and you have to be ready for that. So don't forget the offline part.
And Metin?
Look, two things for me. I think one, I think it's very important we spend a lot more time on strategy, right? And for us as brands, businesses, I think it's important therefore to budget accordingly. And one of the learnings that we're having is, this is the time that you gotta splurge a little bit. There's a great opportunity with brand building, connecting with the local audiences, and therefore, if you want to, please go bold. Please spend that or invest that extra investment as a brand sort of building credential. I think even on the strategic front, it's important for us to learn and understand. I think the landscape globally here is changing. In retail, people are so much more value focused now. And I think one of the great tips I could have is learn from our partners. We do that. I mean, RF is here from TikTok. We have, Google. We have the Metas of the world. They invest so much in extensive research throughout the year, keeping Ramadan in mind. Let's spend more time with them. I think you guys do so much, and I think it's a great avenue to get more insights. And of course, I would say, if your business permits, also look at consumer studies. If you're in B2B, do more business research, etc. I think the second bit is, again, touching upon what everybody said here, is the brand piece. I think the best moment of the year to build connections with your local audiences, if you're serving them, just please over-index there. And apart from all the marketing that we do, media is getting fragmented, but there's still an opportunity of storytelling. So these are the, I think, two things I would say.
Great. And on to the next question. How are brands and marketers optimizing campaigns during Ramadan? If you can give key takeaways, we can start with Olfa.
So optimize the brands, you said, sorry?
How are brands and marketers optimizing campaigns?
Actually, we touch a bit about it. We are optimizing by really sending the right content at the right moment. So for us, for example, it's really like preparing the campaigns 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks prior Ramadan. The third week and the fourth week of Ramadan is a key period also to prepare Eid. That's why we are also like seeing a big increase in terms of a gifting search, perfume during the third and 4 weeks of Ramadan. So this is how we actually optimize, is making sure that we are there during the right moment, sharing and giving the right content, making sure that we are also there during the discovery period, and TikTok, I think, We have done some great work also with you on that. It's prime time every day. And then I think there is the last phase, which is the phase of, I would say, sales in a way, where we optimize actually our content on pure player, e-retailer, for example, because we know that this is a time where the shopping and the purchase increase by 1.9 in general. So it's also a moment where we are really present with gifting, Ramadan boxes, for example. We have seen an increase on minis also. So I will say that yes, like content and really pushing the Ramadan gifting boxes and mini size is also a key moment for
Thank you.
For this
Ari?
brand.
So I'll have to answer this one purely from our lens because you asked about optimization. So if I go back to the idea of prime time all the time, one solution that our partners look for when they're looking to drive all-day visibility is a top view in Ramadan, because then they get the full 24 hours within that day, and they ensure that they are reaching, like if they choose to, they can get all the impressions, and they get 100% share of voice of our audience on that day by guaranteeing that the first thing or the first video that will play when our users open the app is going to be their ad or their content, their piece of content. So top view is one way they optimize to drive all-day visibility. In terms of driving the everyday impact, it depends on the objective. A lot of the retailers and e-commerce partners that we work with focus very much on driving the lower part of the funnel during Ramadan. So then they optimize via using video shopping ads, which link back to their catalogs.
I think frequency is key, because the ideal scenario, or the very good scenario, there's no ideal scenario, is that a brand is able to produce content periodically and systematically to share it across and throughout the whole month. So a brand would establish a rhythm or a setting where they are sharing one episode or one piece of content every 3 days or 2 days or 1 day, and then spreading that out across the whole month. This way, you will get the consumer to come back after seeing 3 pieces of this content. They will want to watch the 4th and the 5th, and you get them connected. And again, it's not like it's not rediscovering the wheel. It's what people do with Netflix, right? So back to the point that the content should be entertaining. It also should be systematic, and it should be in multiple pieces and spread out across the full market, the full month, so that you capture and keep their attention throughout the month, because you don't know when they're going to attempt or they're going to purchase. So if you just have a big piece of content on the first day and then sleep on it, you lose out.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about consistency throughout the month. And to wrap it up, our final question is, after Ramadan, what's your next big focus? We can start with Mitten.
Well, yeah, Ramadan is still about a few months away, but yeah, let me try and think. So there are a few things happening at Baby Shop. Look, from a campaign that is relevant for today's conversation, we move into tackling holiday, because holiday is again a big opportunity for families to get out and start trading with some of the products that we have. So holiday would be big, and once they're done with the holiday, back to school is bigger, right? So there are a series of sort of trade opportunities for us, and yeah, we're gearing up to some of the more I would say exciting ones. Even as we talk about our general trade, we are looking at expanding in Southeast Asia, which is a big priority for Baby Shop, and we are looking at probably a new sort of a brand campaign for us towards the end of the year. So yeah, so these are some of my priorities right now.
Arif, what's your focus?
I mean, traditionally, the key magic moments used to be like Ramadan, shopping season, or what used to be Black Friday, but now it's like a 3-month season of shopping. But we no longer think of only magic moments, because like most of our partners operate year-round. Our users are opening the app every day. So we double down more on always on consistency and making sure we're delivering on our partners' business objectives throughout the year. Yes, there are certain magic moments where we have to customize the efforts and have bespoke solutions, but after Ramadan is the first day after Ramadan. Like that will also be a super important day for many of our partners. So I would focus on the need for driving consistency throughout the year versus what's the next big thing.
Thank you. And Olfa?
Actually, every moment is important for L'Oréal, and it's really something that we are trying to build, making sure that we stay connected to our consumers, not only during Ramadan, and I really want to build on it because yes, Ramadan is a key moment, like Black Friday, for example, but it's also like we need to be consistent on how we make our consumer coming back. I was working, for North Asia, for Southeast Asia, and they are like super good today in this region of creating moments. And I think this is the role of our brands, is to create moments, to create hallmarks, to create memories, and we can create our own one. So there is the big one that everyone knows, like holidays, like Black Friday, Ramadan, Eid, but we have also now, with the acceleration of e-commerce, to create our own moments in our website, but also with retailers, pure players, and department store, for example. So my recommendation and what is next for me is to make sure that there is like plenty of moments where we can touch base with our consumer, and we can make them coming back to our brands because we know how to talk to them and we know how to push the right content. And yes, for L'Oréal, we are celebrating our 25th year in the region this year, so it's going to be also a big moment for us.
And Ramsey?
Everything my colleagues said all year long, and even so the panel, the first panel that was here today, this morning, we're talking about don't just shortcut straight to bottom line and to the lower funnel and go straight to sales. You have to build your awareness and familiarity and consideration, all the other sections of a purchase funnel. And to do that, I think you need to be active all year long. Ramadan might be more relevant tactically, at least automotive-wise, because people think Ramadan offers, okay, you have to be there, your competition are going to be there. So you can have a more tactical message linked to your entertaining piece, but you should be active, a brand should be active all year long because top of mind, and again, everything that the team said.
Thank you so much. Do we have time for questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can come up and chat to the panelists.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our panelists. Whoops. We had very strong brands for that panel, great insights. We had laughter, we had tears. What more do you want from a panel? So before we say goodbye and I say thank you, we have that Xbox to give away. Just this morning I woke up and thought how much I needed a new gaming console, so this is great timing for me, but I don't think I can win. So can I invite onto stage Jacob Joseph, please, from Microsoft Advertising Partnership in Mobi to give away the fantastic prize. Okay, do you have the winner on your disposal?
David Do Rosario from Havas is here.
Okay, thank you for that. It's a great prize, and thank you for coming. And shameless plug for campaign, please read our magazine, look at us online. We're now doing more podcasts. We've obviously got events like this, and we're on social media, including TikTok, making our own videos. So thank you for coming. Have a safe travel.